get this meeting started. Abigail, do you mind reading our paragraph that we need to read?
I think somebody from the committee has to do that to make the motion.
Okay,
does anyone need me to send it to them?
on the top of the agenda, April or Bill, does either one of you have that?
Bill, can you take it because I'm driving?
Okay, I'm digging it out.
While he's getting that, did anybody hear back from Jessica Coke?
I haven't heard anything from Jessica. I can read this if it's okay that I read it. I don't mind.
I've got it.
Okay, great.
I've got it, Ingrid.
Okay, sounds great. Thank you.
I move that the items on the meeting agenda constitute essential business of this committee. Meeting electronically is necessary to protect the health, safety, and welfare of Tennesseans considering the COVID-19 outbreak, and any rule conflicting with Governor's Executive Order 16 and 34 permitting electronic meetings be suspended.
Great, thank you. If everyone would feels comfortable with what Bill has just said and is willing to get started with this meeting, will you please say aye?
Aye.
Aye.
We'll have to do a roll call. Sorry. So
right now my mood is like, yeah. I'm so damn tired of this meeting.
April, Calvin.
Aye and present.
Thank you. Bill, well, you said the motion. So Ingrid?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry for my crankiness. It's just like technology working, maybe feeling very distanced from human beings, you know, all the things. It's a lot of feelings. I would like to just start this meeting actually quickly just by doing I have no need to make it last longer than necessary, but I just want to check in on everyone and see how you are doing. Anyone need any extra support right now?
I can definitely use a little extra support. Making burial arrangements for my father, which is difficult at this time of COVID and distancing. So prayers are needed.
Thank you, April, for sharing that and for that. And for sure, you will be in our thoughts and prayers. And just, I'm sorry that you are going through this at this time, but also really thankful that I think from what I know of you, you have a really great, loving and supportive family. And I'm just thankful for that and thankful for your family and for your dad.
Thanks, Ingrid.
Yeah, definitely sending love and prayers your way, April.
Thanks, Bill.
Yeah. It's been a, weird couple months, and I don't know, I felt like I was doing okay, and then sort of, not so much this week. I feel like I hit a wall or something. So, yeah, there's a lot going on, and I appreciate you all making time with all the things that are going on and just the extra difficulty that it takes to do life right now, that you're willing to be on this call and make this a priority. Just want to make sure that we go through really quick again our conflict of interest. I have a conflict because I'm, I don't know. Hello?
Hello?
Oh, sorry. I thought somebody else was trying to get on. I have a conflict of interest in that my name will be on the ballot again this year, and I just need to acknowledge that. Does anyone else have a conflict of interest in terms of the meeting?
That is the same for me. This is April Calvin, and hopefully my name will be on the ballot as well.
Thank you, April. Y'all, I feel like I need to say I'm sorry for our last meeting. It wasn't great. Thanks for being understanding, I guess. It's hard to try to conduct these meetings like this, I think, and in a time that is so stressful, and not being able to be together to have those conversations is hard. Yeah, I don't know what else to say, but I just wanted to apologize if I was too hard or harsh or insensitive or rude at any point. I felt very frustrated, and you know, there's just so much, I guess, that I feel like the nominations committee can actually do, and I feel like some of the things that we were talking about were not things that we can do anything about. There are some things that we can towards that moving forward, but I just wanted to apologize for any part of our last meeting that was uncomfortable or tense or frustrating.
I really appreciate you for saying this, Ingrid. The frustration was palpable, and it was on a variety of fronts. I think right now we need to have as much grace for one another as we possibly can. We always need to have grace for one another, but especially now. And that, so thanks, and don't beat yourself up.
Yeah, I just don't want to be part of the problem, you know, but then things get overwhelming, and then you are sometimes. So I just feel not good about that. And so thank you. Susie, we're glad that you're back too. Hope that you had a good trip.
But I was having a good time.
I'm so glad.
Yeah, it was a nice time
enough
off.
To follow or to cover the rest of our I don't know, whatever we did.
Well, what I was going to bring up to you, all of you, Bill, I think Bill was on the call the other day, and I lost it when we were talking about the data committee, and Elena started it off by talking about a difficulty that she's experienced since birth in terms of code switching and how exhausting that can be, and talking about race and talking about the protests. And people were allowed to speak at the beginning of that meeting, and it was a really eye-opening and stimulating conversation, and people were able to vent a little bit, and I just broke into tears. So maybe it's contagious, Ingrid. But
yeah, it was a really you know, this is not probably the side of me that most people see, and I just had a hard week last week. It was really hard, and it was also really tender because I was with my nephew for the first time since COVID, and so but then with all the things that are happening in the world, and it's anyway, okay, sorry about all of those things. What would be really helpful is if we could just go through again. It feels like, I mean, this is the part of this that just is not my favorite, and that is waiting for all of the things to come in. I have I have talked to Jill. I'll give a quick update on the person that Jill Pritchard from COB. We have not talked directly yet, but we have talked indirectly, and she is interested and is going to let me know. So that's good news. But I also have not received, and maybe it's, I don't know, but I don't think that I've received all of the bios and pictures, because I had said that I would put those things together that we could send out. But I don't think that I've received all of those to be able to do that yet. Has anybody else heard from any of the people that they were following up with? Or Susie, do you have any kind of updates in terms of anybody else that you've heard from?
Real quickly, I'm sorry. Is Jessica Hope supposed to be a panelist in this meeting?
Yes. Thank you, Wesley.
Thank you. It wouldn't take my panelist password.
Jessica. Thanks for being here. So we were just
just to catch you up, Jessica, Ingrid was wondering about the bio sheets, and she had said that she had assembled them. I'd forgotten that. What I did do is I have sent to everyone except for one person who is one with lived experience, and Dion Trotter is going to give me it's Sheila Decker, her contact information when he gets back from his vacation later today or sometime tomorrow. But everybody else has been sent the bio sheets, and my instruction to them was to get it back by the 1st of July. So they are given more time, and of the folks who I sent the bio sheets to, I think there are only 3 individuals who have completed theirs and sent theirs back, and I'll be glad to send them along to you, Ingrid. They have come back. It's Travis Claybrooks, Monique Odom, and Beth Shin. And then I did send to a couple of the folks who have served before, like John Diener and Brian. I sent them their bio sheets from last year, or actually Brian hasn't served before, but who actually had completed the bio sheets, and I mentioned their bios aren't that different this year. I sent their old ones, so all they needed to do was update that. But again, for the most part, the sheets are not back yet.
Great, that's really helpful. Sorry, go ahead.
Over the list of folks that at least I've sent those sheets to, it would be everybody who expressed interest. So I'll just go over that really briefly with you. But it is in an Excel spreadsheet that I attached to something yesterday. So you can look at it there.
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now, but also just wanted to mention that we put Randy Morgan on the list. Sorry if somehow that he used to work downtown and is in housing and development. I don't know if we still want to have him on the list or not. It was sort of a person who fit the, sort of city planner kind of guy, but who watched a man get struck by a car and killed outside of his downtown office, and has had a real passion for people experiencing homelessness. I mean, before then for sure, but definitely since then.
Ingrid, if you can send me his contact information, I'll send him a bio sheet and I'll copy you in on that.
Awesome, perfect. And okay.
I'm kind of hoping if we can go to Abby. He's got to get out and I'm gone to another call.
Okay, yeah, I just wanted to update you all on the voting process, if that's okay. So here's where we are. As of June 30th, the executive order that we have been talking about every time we make that motion at the beginning ends. So after that point, starting July 1st, we will have to do all of our committee meetings in person. We are working on a request to the governor's office to ask if he would extend that order. We've been talking to some folks at the state health department. which makes it seem like that's a possibility and something that they're already looking at. But since we don't know that, we can't plan on it. So if we wanted to do a virtual vote, we would need to do it on Tuesday of next week, and I would even still have to make sure that that's possible with the ITS WebEx team. And I'm working with Metro Legal on if we can do, like, there's not a problem with doing the virtual vote, it's just if we can do one where folks' answers are confidential, as they normally are in an in-person meeting. It is possible that we would have to simply do a roll call of every person, and they would have to declare their vote. So that would be that option.
May I ask a clarifying question really quick? Did you just say next Tuesday?
Yes, I did. So otherwise, we'll have to do an in-person vote.
Because Susie hasn't asked them to have their stuff back in until July 1st. So I would say that's probably not an option.
Yep.
Okay. And I just wanted you guys to help make that decision, and that's fine. So we'll just have to, if we wanted to do this for the normal date of the COC general meeting, which is the third Thursday, I believe, then we'll just have to find a space large enough for everyone to be socially distanced. So that's the only trick with that. We're trying to figure that out.
And I'm so sorry to ask questions like this. They're so frustrating, but how many voting members are there?
I just got, I asked Grant Winter, who's membership chair, to look at, since we haven't had meetings for a few months, the last meeting that was held and then the prior 12 months to tally up the folks that have the 50% member attendance that will be required to be an eligible voter. And he's working on that, and he should have that in the next couple of days. Typically what we're looking at is around 30 voting members, and I would imagine the number would be about that same number these days.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, cool. I was just wondering in terms of like looking for a space, if we could go ahead and, I mean, I don't even mind, you know, I don't mind helping or doing whatever, just to try to see. I just didn't know if it was going to be like 100 voting members. That would be a giant space, or if we can do it in a. Do we know if the library, so once we're in phase 3, does the library open up?
I'm not sure. I actually asked that question today, and I'm waiting for a response. I don't know when the library opens.
Because we could do, it seems like their auditorium or one of their larger spaces might be an option that would be fairly easy for people to like get to, park, and I don't know, stay social distanced. But maybe that's not a great idea. Anyway, we don't have to decide that.
Another thought.
I thought of that.
I was going to ask just another question around that. While we only have 30 people who may be eligible to vote, the meetings are usually much bigger than that. Can we restrict attendance to the meeting only to those eligible to vote to limit like how big of a space we need?
I imagine we could find the space for 30 and adjust for a certain level of public attendees and just have, I mean, a cutoff. Because I mean, I assume that's what they'll have to do with Metro Council, because that space is only so large and spaces like that. But that's something I will have to look into. That is a very good idea.
Abigail, I have a question. So if we limit it to the 30 people that are eligible to vote, the non-voting members, can they still have a Zoom or a Skype access?
My understanding is no. I don't think so. I mean, I can double check, but I believe that there's going to be no virtual option. It'll go back to the way it was before. But I will double check.
That's what I understand too, Abigail. that's what I've heard too, that once things are public, they're public. So it's not a very helpful, that's not super helpful. I get it. You can only have so much IT support for so long, but I heard the same thing.
Once I get that list from Grant, I don't know quite how we do this, but poll those eligible voters. And I emailed the mission folks this morning sort of saying, even if we can have an in-person meeting, are you all even open to being the host? So that's why we need to look at some alternative locations anyway. But
also, can we just say no? I'm not going into the mission.
Well, and even if it's not the mission, and I imagine it won't be, polling the voters to see how comfortable they are, and in advance make sure that we're going to have a quorum, because they may be very uncomfortable going wherever in town it might be set up. Well, if we get back from 30 members that only 15 are interested at all in meeting, and then a few of those get sick and we don't have quorum, I mean, there's just a lot of logistics to kind of.
Well, and on that note, like CARE staff wouldn't be able to attend because as an agency, we have our procedures right now through the end of July is that we don't attend community meetings from a safety perspective. So there could be other agencies that same procedure is going to apply to as well. Even if the individual is comfortable, their agency might be telling them they can't come.
Honestly, I haven't even checked. Our agency really doesn't go back to working at the office until like the 3rd of August. And I haven't even checked to see if I am approved for attending anything like that. Yeah.
Hey, is there a way that we could possibly, Abigail or Susie, whichever, whoever is willing to like sort of check into these things, is maybe we could just ask, not even for people as panelists to call in, but like if there is someone on who is a voting member who either can't, right, like isn't allowed, really, it's not safe for them yet to be out because of their age or some sort. At that point, we provide that person with a number and like say, look, we're happy for you to call in. Here's what'll have to happen for you to vote, but you can call in. I don't know if that's even a thing.
Like if we did that and still had some people in person and then but had a way for people who felt like they couldn't or their agents said they couldn't.
Yeah, I mean, even if it's not through like a metro thing so that we don't have to ask for extra services.
Right.
But that we could say like, is it okay if like, I have my cell phone on speaker with Jess because Jess isn't allowed to be there. Jess knows that doing that she's going to have to verbally give her votes, but at least she can participate if she's not allowed to be there in person. I don't know, just a thought.
Yeah, I'm not even sure who we ask about that. It's kind of weird because the COC general membership is it's a slightly an entity unto its own. So, I mean, I don't know that there would be any like, I mean, I think you could probably do that as long as the rest of the membership was comfortable with that action.
Okay, cool. Well, if we don't have to ask, let's not ask. Susie, I'll let you ponder that in your heart.
Well, and then in the charter, what it says is that 50% of the eligible voters must be, quote, in attendance, but it doesn't stipulate what in attendance means. So does that kind of allow some leeway to a call-in kind of thing? And then I need to look back in terms of how votes happen, but it could actually say that the way that the membership can vote, it can't happen electronically, but I don't know. I'm gonna have to go back and review the
I feel like that is true, but also electronically to me means something different than if someone's voice is on a phone who has heard the whole thing and they can say, I vote for April Calvin on the phone and everybody hears them say it. I don't know. Maybe that's still electronic. Oh no, Jess, you're looking at me like I'm crazy. What? Okay.
No, I'm sitting here thinking about the people who will make an issue out of all of this. So,
well, right. That's why we have to talk about it.
Yeah, I think it all sounds great and very realistic and works for me. But my hope beyond hope is that we extend emergency operating procedures for a magnitude of reasons so that we don't have to deal with this. But
same. Yeah, it's insane. It's insane. I mean, yes. Okay. Okay, let's just find out.
Even if that happens, if things are extended by a month or 3 months or whatever, then if it gets extended, then indeed, I guess the continuum of care general membership meeting could be held electronically. And if so, everybody's going to have to read their ballot stuff out. And I just think that that's going to be very awkward. It's going to take forever, but it's going to be very awkward because I think people like remaining anonymous in terms of who they've chosen. It's kind of like going to vote for president and having to tell somebody who you voted for.
So if we're in that situation, could we do it where you do it in the chat and the chat only goes to the presenter? So you don't say it out loud, you type in who you've voted for and it just goes to the presenter?
So I asked if there's a voting function, and there's not. I don't know about the chat only going to the presenter, but we can ask about that. Or Wesley, I don't know if you happen to know. And then I've also asked Metro Legal to determine if we can do some sort of email-in voting process where we hold a public meeting virtually, should we be allowed to, and then people can email in their votes after the public meeting, and there's been a chance for some open discussion and things like that. So I'm waiting for that response. I called back this morning, and hopefully I will hear something this week. But I do want to just clarify, what we are sure is that we are not going to try to have a meeting on Tuesday. And I only want to double check is because if we do think we want that, then I need to go ahead and move forward.
No.
No.
Nope.
I agree. I think that would be a disservice to the process of trying to get people on the ballot and all of that. And while it could be easier. And
so I think that makes sense. I just wanted to confirm and double check. And then as far as your other questions, I'm writing them down and we'll work with Susie and we'll try to get some answers.
Abigail, I know I've done several meetings with the state on WebEx that has had the capacity to do a chat where you can just send something to one person to answer questions. I don't know if that's different when it becomes a public meeting, et cetera, but just, I know there is some functionality in WebEx to do that to some degree.
There are also apps that will let you vote, like create your own voting things. And I don't know how secure that is or if we would ever be allowed to do anything like that, but who knows?
Like Abby's idea. I mean, if we're able to virtually or not meet in July and have the discussion and review who's on the ballot and that kind of stuff, and then afterwards see if legal will allow ballots to be emailed in, then there's that public process and discussion and some thought that gets sort of, bounced around, and then everyone, and it's clear who the voting members are, and then only those folks are allowed to send in ballots. And if it can happen via email, that'd be great.
Yeah.
And the other thing I was going to say is, and Abby, I know you got to go. Anything else you got to say, or maybe you're gone already?
No, I think that's it for me. And then if there's any other questions for me, just shoot me an email and I'll follow up on them and take that.
Well, thank you so much for your help.
Yeah. Part. So this is all new fun things. So thank you all so much.
Thanks. I have one quick question, and maybe I missed this. I'm not sure. Is there an option just to have an extension and do a vote like in August or September?
So here's the thing. We don't have an extension even for the members who are on the planning council now. So anyone who is set to roll off will roll off after June 30th. Because the only extension that was granted was for the executive committee to continue as the executive committee. So we will, in July, be down 8 members of our planning council.
April, we're off the hook until the re-elections. Oh, you're on the executive committee.
I was going to say, well, what does that mean for me on the executive committee as well?
Well, I think that means that after next week, on the 30th, you will no longer be on the executive committee. I mean, I don't know. Honestly, I don't know. I'll ask
Can we apply for an extension? Have we even applied?
Well, so it was bounced around at the planning council meeting a little bit, but there was a lot of other discussion, and we ran out of time, and so there was never a vote. So then the planning council would need to vote on it. But we will be down 8 members, which would mean that we would really have to have everybody who's left show up to have a quorum. And if we have to meet in person, I'm honestly concerned that that's not going to happen.
I'm wondering though, Abby, though, I think the charter says something like, something percentage of the seated members. At that point, you'll have 25 minus 8 seated members. So to me,
no, that's not the way it works. Even if they're not filled, we have to count them. We have to count all of the seats. Because we've asked that question before when we were down all of the city council representatives.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
So it kind of means, okay, that's a lot. Okay, hey, Abigail, I want you to not miss your other call.
Well, you guys let me know. Judy's on the other call and can fill me in. So I'm happy. I can stay on this call. I've already texted her and let her know. And if you need me to be on this to help work this through, I can do that.
Abby, is there any way that on the agenda for the planning council, assuming it meets on, I think it's the 8th, it's early in July, that there could be an emergency amendment to the charter that just gets tagged on, that they vote on, saying because of all this hullabaloo, that they want to amend the charter during the time of COVID to shift the process back until it can be transparent and handled the right way, and therefore extend the terms. I don't know. I mean, is there a way we do that?
I don't know. I mean, the charter is voted on by the membership. So would the planning council have the authority to do that? Or would that be something that we'd have to do with the membership?
Well, and here's another consideration. At our last meeting, Steve Ryder talked about having public notices and, slowing down our process if we could. And part of the rationale for our not going forward with his suggestions, at least in the near term for this slate, was that we don't really have the time. So we'd be opening another box there that just will further complicate matters. But I don't have an opinion. I'm just for those who weren't there last time and with us last time, and yeah, just pointing that out.
There was discussion about whether or not we needed to have a meeting next Tuesday. Can we have a general membership meeting next Tuesday to vote on these bylaws extension doing it this way? Is that feasible at all?
Now that would be an option, seeing if we could do that and have the general membership.
I know, I mean, that's my look too, Ingrid, but if that's what it would take to keep the executive committee operating after July 1, is that what we need to be looking at?
Yeah, I just wonder if they'll let us do it with this short of notice.
We're a week
Have a
out.
special call meeting?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think I'll just have to double check with ITS to make sure, but Derek said that yes. I talked to him this morning about more for the voting process for the planning council member seat, but I think it would apply. We could still hold a COC membership special meeting by next Tuesday to vote on extending the planning council, the charter, or whatever it was that you said, Susie, changing the charter so that we could extend the planning council members another month or two or whatever we need to do.
Could we also at that point do something that then would allow the membership vote to be easier, to allow for electronic voting or for something of that nature, changing the bylaws at the same time? Would that be necessary? I don't know, just throwing that out there.
Yeah, I just wonder how much, I just don't want us to get, yes, I think that would be a great idea. And I just want to make sure that we don't do like too many things that we don't have to do. Because we're going to have to undo things most likely that we do during a temporary time. I just don't want to get too confusing. I know other people are taking notes besides me, which is fantastic. Because, I mean, it could get a mess in a heartbeat.
Yeah, I mean, I would think we would do something that would say for the next 90 days, you know, it would be time limited or something, and whatever legal would advise in that way. But if we're trying to make sure we can also have the membership vote in a way that feels comfortable on the slate, knowing we may or may not be able to have an in-person meeting, if we had the opportunity to make that more comfortable and doable. Obviously, this is a lot to happen in the next 24 hours in order to be able to hold a meeting in a week. So I'm just throwing that out there.
Well, I mean, the other thing is we could tentatively schedule that for a week from tomorrow for next Tuesday, get the notice out, and then if things get completely scrambled between now and then and things just really can't be decided upon, then I think, Abby, you found that it's fairly easy to cancel. Doing the opposite is a lot harder.
I think
right, much easier to cancel than it is to try to set something up later.
Yeah.
I mean, I would tend to think if there's any way to make sure that there's still a executive committee board, particularly because of everything that's happening, that is important to try to do.
Yeah, no kidding. Because what we definitely don't want is all of a sudden to not have an executive committee and then Mary Falls to be like, we need your expertise since you've asked to give it, and then nobody be able to do that.
So I just want to clarify, are we wanting to change the charter for the executive committee or for all the planning council members that are set to roll off to maintain them for another month or two or whatever that is?
Good question. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
Be April having to move her forward.
Is there a way you think that we could do it that it would be like everyone until the election is held, instead of saying like, I just don't want it to get to be like, oh, look, you know, I don't know, I can just see somebody being like, no, I'm still on it, and it's like, no, you're not, because
yeah, and we don't want to take any more. Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, I think we want to be conservative in the approach of not over extending things without people being able to have enough input and all of that.
I think it should be all. I think we should request for all to move forward and then make a decision after that. I don't know. I guess we probably should put time limits on it. You know, I don't know. Do we say for a month, 3 months? You know, we would need to be a little, I think, more, you know, have more details in the ask.
Yeah,
but be sure to give us enough time so that we don't have to ask for another extension on our homework.
That's exactly
probably
right,
be some language that just avoid a timeline and sort of say until, and there's I don't know what the wording would be, but until the community, the COC community deems it safe to meet and get this done the way it needs to be done, or whatever. And you could have a suggested time frame, but you don't want, again, you don't want to hem yourself in if COVID goes haywire and we're all working from home, 9 months from now or whatever. I don't know.
I mean, I think that's a huge possibility, and that's something that I think is a smart thing to do.
So I think you guys just said a couple things that maybe if we can say have the planning council members whose terms expire as of June 30th continue on for another month, and then also a second vote to allow for virtual voting for those who cannot attend in person due to health risks or agencies not allowing them to attend, that sort of thing. And then that way you're still having the vote in July. Because we don't know what the future holds. So even to say 90 days, we don't know that it's going to be better in 90 days or that people are going to feel more comfortable in 90 days. So I think if we can still hold it to, having the vote by the end of July, then but allowing for space for people to vote virtually if they are uncomfortable or calling in their votes or that sort of thing makes a lot of sense.
I like that, Abigail. I think that's prudent. Yeah.
Me too. I think that's perfect. Cool. Okay, Susie, back on to you. Do you want to go through your list with us and say, like, are we missing anybody, or do you have their information, I guess?
This is just an alpha order by last name. Roy Batista, who's with Fairfield Inn. Kay Bowers, who used to direct New Level CDC. April Calvin. Travis Claybrooks with the Rafa Institute. Don Diener. Sheila Decker, who was the one that got nominated by the Consumer Advisory Council. Sean Foster from the YWCA. Brian Hale at Neighborhood Health. Alex Jackson Smith, who has lived experience. One change here, John Crenson at Operation Stand Down is going to go into semi-retirement, so he is not going to be on the list, so we'll take him off. Tim Leaf, again, all kinds of difficulty reaching him. Tim Leaf.
I didn't hear you say what the deal was with Tim. What happened?
Oh, we're just having difficulty reaching him. He has a phone, but he doesn't give his phone number out. And so the way I reach him is via email. And I've attempted on several occasions to ask him if he wants to serve, to send a bio sheet, and this kind of stuff. And there's no reply. So I texted Steve earlier today and I said, listen, we're having difficulty reaching him. Number one, I want to make sure he's okay. And number two, if he is willing to share Tim's phone number, maybe he could give that to me. I mean, he may not be willing, but so I'm worried about that, partly because if I can't reach him, we won't have a bio sheet, and the optics aren't good there. I mean, a person with lived experience, all of the bios need to be in the list, and if somebody is missing, it just, I don't know. Jaha Martin with the VA, Ingrid, Monique Odom, Metro Parks, Beth Shin, and Tariq Smith with Meharry Medical College. And then I'll add Randy Morgan from Ingrid, and he is interested. We've got that level of interest. And then I just did want to make sure that if there are other folks on your list who you think are going to come through, like who'd you just mention, Ingrid? The other one?
Oh yeah, Phil Fleck. Phil, how do you say her last name? Sorry, hold on. Looking, she just called me back. Jill Fitchard. It's Fitcheard, and she's the chair of the Community Oversight Board.
Or she's the director, the staff director.
Yeah, sorry. Thank you.
Just as an an aside, I think that not now because it's too late, but after the vote and once there's a little breathing room, we could create a list of the partners that you feel need to be represented on the planning council. And rather than kind of being a little willy-nilly that as we have been in the past, like just folks, you sort of think of them. If you want a person from the VA, or if you, we've got the lived experience folks, tagged. But if you want, someone who represents the communities of color, or if you want, you get the stakeholder categories.
Yeah. This year maybe has been willy-nilly for sure. In the past, it has not, though. We have had, like, last year and the year before that, I made a spreadsheet that had, like, everything that we, like whatever, like, young people, the LGBTQ community, like, blah, blah, blah. Like, we had a huge thing that was, and I still have that I can pass on as, like, that we can use in the next thing. So it makes sure that we're representing veterans. It makes sure we're representing people who are medically vulnerable. It makes sure that, whatever the situation is, I'm happy to pass that along because I don't need to reinvent the wheel. But it may also not be exactly what we want. So whatever, you can use it and do whatever you want with it.
Yeah, I remember that sheet being really comprehensive. And we started it actually several years ago down at the mayor's office and with Eric Cole.
When we had
right.
Yeah,
yep.
That was when
it was very
super comprehensive.
So I've sort of been using it, even though nobody else can see it because it's been on my computer. I should probably have shared that. And those are things that eights don't often think about, but I can definitely send that to you, Susie. Making a note.
I'll connect with you.
Maybe, or did we continue? Is there anyone else that is not on the list, friends, that we have been talking to?
I have not heard back from Officer Reed, so I'm going to follow up on that again.
I feel like that's one of the kind of strange things. Like, again, I feel like we need somebody from law enforcement because unfortunately it happens.
I personally have mixed feelings on it, but tend to agree. I think I can argue either side of that coin.
Yeah, okay, so me too. But I also feel like it's really helpful to have Jill possibly maybe coming on to bring kind of a balance.
And she's a cop by trade and training. She's when she came up before the COB for consideration for the director job, the vacancy. One of the things that Ashley, the chair, said to the group was, "This is a woman who's held every position you can in law enforcement, from special detective to beat officer to patrol to different gangs office, etc." So if it can get her, that would be amazing.
I think that we can. I think we can. And she's already called me. So since we've been on the phone, she actually left me a voicemail. So I think she'll be on the list.
Out loud here, so indulge me for a minute. So when you look at like the math of the whole thing, and the chances that the folks that really need to fill slots get elected, the chances are slimmer the longer this list is. We're looking at 18, 19 people on this list already. Many of them qualified to do all kinds of stuff. So in a way, in the future, it could be a good strategy to think seriously about the holes that exist on the planning council and just hone in on a few candidates. So basically the voters are steered to fill the slots with candidates who enrich the experience and the the breadth of the planning council.
Yeah, that's an important strategy question, Susie. Thank you for raising it. Yeah.
I mean, I think it's why we used that thing last time, right? And it's I mean, I know we don't have a whatever that thing I made was called, whatever, the chart, the graph, the whatever. But I can't. I mean, oh, sorry, what?
I said Ingrid's matrix.
Yeah. But then also, you know, you say something so that we steer people in this direction. Good God. That was what I got crucified on our last call for. Not really, obviously, but like, yeah, I don't know. I think that's a good idea too, and a good strategy, which is why I made that, to make sure that we are paying attention to like all the ways we serve, right? But then you get that because it's like, well, you're only asking these people, and it's like, yeah, because we want we want people who are to make informed decisions that are healthy for our community.
Yeah, and not to pat myself on the back for the point, but last time, you know, when we were having that conversation, you know, it reminded us that most of our work is done in committees, and that there are scores of us who are very active on 2-3 committees, and that don't need to necessarily be on the planning council.
Yeah.
So I think we're in decent shape.
Yeah. Also, the other thing I think is really important, evaluating who we elect and then going to the mayor and saying, here are the 3 people that we want you to appoint, because these are 3 people that we asked. They agreed to be on the thing. They didn't get elected, and we think it's really important that they're on there. So whether it's, you know, for some reason Kay Bowers doesn't get elected because nobody knows who she is, and they don't realize like what a freaking, like, she would be one of the people that I would say, we kind of need her. If she's willing, let's get the mayor. What do you think? I mean, not necessarily Kay, but just like in general. Like, do you think that sounds like an okay process?
I think, yeah, I think that's sound, Ingrid, and it sounds like the mayor wants it, on this one matter anyway, is going to want our input because he doesn't care or doesn't know enough about.
He doesn't know.
So yeah, so he probably would appreciate the guidance.
Yeah, I think so too.
The decision was made, I think, in one of the earlier meetings, that the 5 that can be on the ballot, or the 5 that can be elected, not that are on the ballot, but the 5 that can be elected by the COC general membership, of the 5, 2 are going to be with lived experience. So, and they're going to have to be in a separate box saying 2 of the 5 must be, and all we have is 3 people with lived experience. So it's almost a given that those 2 people are going to be the ones elected. And then you got a whole bunch of other folks that aren't people with lived experience. And then you say, well, or maybe you have all 3 of the people who have lived experience. And then the one person who might not be elected is the one that goes to the mayor's office with 2 additional suggestions.
Agreed.
Now, before the meeting ends, I do need to get the wording of those 2 things, that if we are going to have a meeting next Tuesday and all the stars align and it happens, the wording of those 2 things that we want to happen, or that you want to have them vote on.
Is Abigail still on the call?
No, but I feel like she did and always takes really good notes.
Okay, because she said it beautifully.
She really did. And I'm sure she put it in her notes. Do you want me to text her?
I'll do that. Actually, I'll do that. You go ahead and lead things here.
And I tend to think that legal will have some feedback into what it should say.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I was saying that I tend to think legal might have something to say. I don't know if I'm breaking up. Sorry.
Yeah, I can't hear.
Jess said that she feels certain that Metro Legal will want to weigh in on this as well. So we'll get maybe help from them to make sure that the language is as empowering as it can be.
Yeah. All right. I mean, dang.
Hey, I just wanted to mention real quick. I spoke with Stephanie Judd, who heads up a lot of these stuff in programs, doing anonymous polling. Anonymous polling is in Cisco WebEx, but unfortunately it's not set up at this time for the boards and commissions. I just wanted to let you know.
Quickly, you kind of came in and out, so I don't really know what you just said. Something about the WebEx not allowing something?
Okay, yeah, that's fine. Are you able to hear me right now?
Better.
Okay. So I was just letting you guys know that earlier you were talking about doing anonymous polling through WebEx potentially. I checked in with Stephanie Judd, who heads up a lot of that WebEx setup, and she stated that there is polling for the WebEx, but after and unfortunately it's not available at this time for working. Sorry about that.
Sorry. Was Wesley saying something to us?
Doesn't sound like the functionality for a vote via WebEx is it may exist, but we won't be able to access that. If I understood you right, again, you were again coming in and out from my audio.
It's fine. It may be the headphones I'm using that are cheap, crappy ones that I have. But yeah, essentially that it is available in WebEx, but unfortunately we won't be able to use it in the boards and commissions meeting. And I just want to let you guys know that it's there, but it's fine.
The other thing that I would really like for this group to do, if we're willing, is that after the election and after we know who is going to be appointed by the mayor, I think would be, like real gifts to our community, to just to commit to following up with them and making sure that they get on one of the committees.
It's a great idea.
Instead of just being like, great, thanks for trying. Nobody knows who you are, duh, because you don't come to any meetings. I mean, like, that's the crazy part, right? Like, right, of course.
I love that idea.
Of course, nobody knows Kay. Of course, nobody knows Sean. Of course, right? Like, why would you? But if we can do the election part and then not waste time in saying, hey, we had the elections. Thank you for saying yes, that you'd be on the ballot. It's crazy elections, particularly when nobody knows who you are or whatever. We think it is of utmost importance that we have someone with your experience and knowledge on XYZ committee. Would you be willing to serve on that? And I just think that, one, it would also give them an opportunity to be in front of the COC more. So if people didn't know them, they could learn to know that, or, they could meet them and begin building relationships with them. So then maybe a year from now or whatever, they might be elected on.
I think that's a great idea, Ingrid, and also it will help them to become more familiar with our COC process. I think sometimes for when there's new people voted on the planning council, they don't even really understand the whole COC concept, let alone the different partners that are participating in this. So that would be probably a huge asset, kind of like an orientation for maybe next year's vote.
Yeah. I mean, I just think that would be. And then the other thing, you know, that I kind of feel responsible for in nominations, and something that has been, I don't know, not great in the past, is either giving the new members like some sort of packet that's like, hey, this is where you need to go to find all this information, or like, here are the different members of the COC, and here's links to their organization, or this is our brand new 3-year strategic plan that we just did. You know, things that just like you would do on a normal board for a nonprofit that we don't do for our, you know, for this board. Just because I think it'll make them more functional.
I think that's a great idea. I'm also wondering how that dovetails with membership and its work. It seems like we might need to collaborate with them, but
Yeah.
just
I
thinking
would
out loud.
for someone else to do it. I don't need to like take responsibility if it's somebody else's job, but I just think if it's not happening, it really needs to happen.
Maybe we can do a warm handoff at the end of the vote. These are the list of people that were not chosen, and they're interested, you know, in these topics, and connect them to membership.
Yeah.
Membership that looks at the various committees and the strengths of the folks that might not have been elected and trying to match them up, kind of thing.
Yeah. I mean, each one of these people on this list like brings huge experience and gifts. Like none of them are mediocre humans. Not that anyone is a mediocre human, but like in terms of being helpful for this board or whatever, they're all incredibly fantastic.
Some of them might appreciate being on a committee where work is actually done than having to come to the planning council meetings.
Right.
So,
yeah.
I'm just going to go back to that strategy I just mentioned in terms of the, like, whoever's not elected, then you put that on the auto slate for the mayor. And I think Jessica mentioned that last year and the year before, that I guess we'll just have to see what the vote brings. But it could be that we see sort of what seats have been filled and sort of what, and look at the outcome. And then there still may be a need to outreach to a couple of other folks who might better fill a slot that the mayor could, you know, have some influence with. So.
Agreed. I mean, because like there's at least.
I was just say I tend to have a little bit of mixed feelings with the idea that the membership didn't vote this person on, but we're going to recommend them to the mayor. And like, I think it can just go either way. I think there are places where it's very appropriate, especially when you see there's, oh, well, now this, someone from the veterans, you know, didn't get voted on. So there's a gap and it's important to do it there. I think that it's not always the best thing to do.
Agreed. I agree. Like John Crenson and Jaha Martin both represent veterans. Chances of both of them getting elected are pretty slim, but like we probably need to have one of them on there.
Right. I think that's a perfect example of neither of them get elected. We then have a gap. So I think it's just reevaluating after the membership elects of where do we now have gaps? And so who do we want to recommend based on the fact that we have gaps, not based on, well, they didn't get on and we really wanted, you know, kind of thing.
For sure. So let's talk more about positions and like expertise necessarily than like humans. Yeah. Can we go ahead and can we just go ahead and put it like on the calendar in our brains that doesn't have dates because we don't know when this vote is going to happen, but that we will follow up that the week after that vote, because I don't want to let time slide. We're already sloshing around and at the end of June. Are you kidding? I feel like it's still February, right? Because of all this crazy stuff. I'm like, wait, what just happened? So I just want to make sure that we don't, before we say, cool, this is who was elected. Let's, you know, evaluate that. Let's see where our holes are. Let's see if we need some strength in places that maybe we don't have it or not going to have it or whatever. And utilize some of the skills that the folks on this list have.
I agree. And I think every year we also probably say we want to start this process earlier so that we are better prepared to recruit and to explain and to get people engaged. So I will just throw out again, obviously this year is just been what it is and what it is what it is, but reminding us again for next year that if we can start identifying people to get involved in the process earlier, it helps.
Yeah.
One more thing.
Yeah.
You might have moved on. I was dropping off a suit for my dad. So I checked out a little bit, but I wanted to go back to the topic of, Jessica kind of being half in and half out with the votes, and presenting this, other slate to the mayor. Last year, I helped with counting the votes, and I'll tell you, when we have such a large slate, there was a lot of I think we ended up like a 3-way or a 4-way tie. And, even if we decide on presenting like those that were, we had to go back in and vote once more. I don't know if you all remember this. And then we had to go back in and vote one more time to, dwindle that 3-way tie down to, we only needed 2. And so maybe even if that's the option, since, the vote was overwhelmingly, in this area for this person, that would be the people that we would present to the mayor, if that would be helpful. Because it's not necessarily saying that they did not vote for them. Definitely, if they received 0 votes or 2 votes or not even, in the running for the votes, those would not be people that we should probably present to the mayor, but those that received the higher number of votes. I don't know if you guys have moved beyond that topic or not, but.
No, we were kind of finishing up. That's very helpful because then we could use those higher numbered, but if there's a gap, we could go back through and be like, oh, this person got 20 votes, only 1 less than this person, and we need to fill this gap. Let's definitely recommend them to the mayor. I think that's a good idea, April. Thank you.
Welcome.
Or anything else? I guess now I feel a little bit less stressed that I didn't have all the bios and pictures done since. Whew. Thanks, Susie. Yeah, Bill, were you going to say something else?
No, I'm riding with my granddaughter, and I was telling her that we were unmuted.
Oh, fun. Hi, granddaughter.
Yeah.
Hi.
We're just coming from the dentist.
As far as I know. Oh, good job. Is this have we covered the business, Susie, that we need to cover? I mean, we don't need to sit on here for longer than necessary. But I feel like we've covered quite a bit, and let me just make sure in terms of our agenda that we're sticking to it.
I can send you what the ballot looked like last year just to show you a template. Email that to you all so that it looks clear and all that kind of stuff, and you'll just know that the new names will be slid in there, kind of thing. But I haven't created one for this year.
Cool. Okay. I think that we're good. You guys, once again, thank you so much. I feel like and I feel like this is we've generated the interest of some really some folks in our community who really have a lot to offer when it comes to the things that we do and the ways that we serve in the community. I'm excited about that. I'm excited that I think that we've gotten some passion in our on our whatever, I don't know what you call it. What is it called? Committee on the whole in the COC and in the homeless planning team. I just feel like there's some energy right now, and that excites me, and I really hope that we can keep that energy up. And I feel like with particularly the folks that are on this list, I feel like that energy can be sustained. So that's exciting.
So in terms of any future meetings, do we want to just kind of put that on hold until we figure out what happens at the meeting next Tuesday? Okay.
For sure.
And again, so we'll keep with the July 1st date for the bio sheets deadline. Ingrid, I'll send those along to you as I get them. And I'll keep on nudging the folks that haven't sent things in. And then we'll figure out whether there's going to be if the COC actually meets next Tuesday. I don't know whether there's going to be any need for it to meet in July. Anyway, so all of that's still up in the air. And then Abby will get from Derek, the legal guy, ideas for language. And then I guess we'll send that out to the nominating committee so you can see what that language looks like. But it's not as if we can deliberate. So maybe if you guys have any comments about the two statements that are going to be voted on, you can get back to me and Abby individually. Otherwise, if we're deliberating, it's seen as a meeting. Other action steps I'm forgetting that we need to take care of from a staff level?
I think we're
Try and
good.
draft these notes as soon as I can. I'll send them out to you tomorrow because I want to make sure I've covered everything. I'll see what Abby's got, and I just want to make sure I've got everything lined up so that I haven't there aren't any holes in these notes.
Awesome.
Hey,
Wesley? Yeah, go ahead, Bill.
Like
Sorry.
to comment on your remark, Ingrid, about the energy and the sense of urgency. I sense that too, and I'm grateful to you for really bringing that energy when you show up, because you really lead us well that way. So thank you.
It's important work. Wesley, thank you for hosting us. Susie, thank you for leading us. April, thank you for being present in a time that is not easy. We will continue thinking of you and holding you and your family in our thoughts and prayers. Bill, thanks for being with us, even and like accomplishing two things at the same time. That's stellar. And Jess, thanks for persevering to get on the call with us. Good job, team. We all did it. We made it work. So we'll meet again.
Thanks for your leadership.
Oh, I mean, I'm thankful that it's a gift and a skill, I think, to be able to sort of I really don't like the word target, but that you are aware of what is helpful in certain spaces. And I think all of you are very capable and able and helpful in doing that. And so it makes this team work well. Yeah, let's hold off, and you'll hear from probably Susie or myself about the next meeting. Okay.
Guys. All right. Appreciate you. Take care.
Thanks. Have a great day.
Very cool.